Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Born in 1756, one of the greatest musical geniuses of all time. He left us a huge body of work, but died tragically young, aged 35. For some reason, he always seemed out of step with the people around him, and no one has ever been able to work out quite why. I think I know what drove Mozart. I believe he had Tourette's syndrome. How do I know? I have it too, and I'm a composer. And before you start thinking, he thinks he's Mozart, I don't. Mozart is God as far as I'm concerned, but I think I may have at least some insight into his creative processes. I want to take you on a journey to understand why I feel this way about Mozart. First of all, Tourette's is a brain condition, and most people think it makes you swear uncontrollably, but actually that's quite rare. I don't, for instance. More commonly, it involves twitching, along with ADHD, that's Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, and OCD, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. It's not life-threatening, but you do stand out from the crowd, and it can be hell to live with. I've always been mad about Mozart, more than any other composer. And now my obsession has turned into a quest to prove that he had Tourette's syndrome. I believe it began in Mozart's childhood and that he had it all his life. It didn't kill him, but having Tourette's when no one else had the faintest idea what it was must have made things very difficult. And I have a theory that having Tourette's was actually good for Mozart. The constant need to keep his symptoms under control found its outlet and inspiration in his music. I discovered a long time ago that playing Mozart makes me feel better. Now I think I know why. Mozart used his music to self-medicate and to ease the pain of Tourette's syndrome. That's why it speaks to me like nothing else. There's something about Mozart that nobody else has, in my view, and that is a kind of serenity, it's a kind of charm, and a beauty all of its own. I can't explain it, it says something to me, and it always has. I've never not had Tourette's. It's part of everything I do. It's really part of who I am. Every little chore, everything I do in my life somehow has Tourette's in there somewhere. I mean, people are always talking about music being sublime. He was the channel for that. It has its own order. It has its own divine sort of numerical brilliance. I mean, the Jupiter Symphony is humming with genius. Hum, 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 ham, ham, ham. Sounds like hum. The times I find particularly trying are in supermarkets. There was one occasion at the fish counter at Tesco's where I was standing in front of those see-through freezer doors, and I was looking at myself and the thing, and I was having a really good old stack attack, trying to offload a few twitches because I'd been behaving quite well previously. I thought I had the entire ground covered, until I suddenly realized there was a blind spot, and I turned my head, and there was this tiny little old lady who was standing there. If Tourette's syndrome and my twitches and my rituals served some kind of incredible, useful purpose, or as a result of some great artistic achievement, I'd be up there with Mozart. My technique, my twitch technique, is absolutely flawless. Tourette's syndrome affects less than 1% of us. It's hard to imagine how it feels if you've never come across it. And yet, as soon as you add words, you can hear how the twitches and obsessions find their way into Mozart's music. To show you, I've taken something of a liberty I've written a song set to music from the magic flute. Tourette's syndrome was first identified by a Parisian doctor, Georges Gilles de la Tourette, in 1885. Too late for Mozart, sadly. My first task is to meet one of today's top Tourette's experts to find out what she thinks of my Mozart theory. I suppose you could call her a twitch doctor. I've got the sneakiest suspicion she isn't going to like a word of what I've got to say.
In my opinion, I do not think Mozart had Tourette's syndrome. I'll just go through it point by point. Mozart had no clear motor tics and he had no clear vocal tics. He certainly had no clear ADHD and he had no clear OCD. He also had no family history that was relevant. So in my opinion, he had none of the symptoms of Tourette's syndrome.
Well, that didn't go very well, did it? Still, I'm not bothered. What the scientists and the doctors don't have is all of Mozart's life. They have letters, they have hearsay, they have bits and pieces, but there are huge areas of Mozart's life that is uncharted. Whereas I have the entire music. I have Mozart's life history in the music. I want to try and prove Mary Robertson wrong. I'm on my way to Austria, to Mozart's birthplace, to convince everyone that Mozart had Tourette's syndrome, that it's there, in the life, and above all, in the music. That having Tourette's syndrome helped Mozart be one of the greatest musical geniuses of all time. I'm James McConnell. I'm a composer with Tourette's syndrome, and I reckon Mozart may have had it too, which is why I've come to his birthplace in Austria. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here. Not only in Salzburg, but in Mozart's house, and this is Mozart's own harpsichord. Now, I know I seem like a bit of a groupie, but I'm going to play this. It sounds a bit ropey, but I guess we'd all sound a bit ropey after 250 years. It's just fabulous, fabulous. My Tourette's didn't really manifest itself until I was 6 at a carol service at my kindergarten school. Suddenly during Hark the Herald Angels Sing, as a matter of fact, I started sniffing. I don't know what it was, maybe it was that third verse. I remember the first time I uttered the immortal word, ha, which became a huge one very early on in my life when I heard somebody having an argument about something, and the woman in the argument stormed off saying, ha, to whatever the idiotic thing that the other person had said. And I got very keen on this word, ha, and it became a great part of my life. If Mozart really did have Tourette's, wouldn't we expect to have seen him acting strangely as a child? Actually, he was very well behaved as a small boy, a fact that was commented upon by several of his royal patrons. And yet, a little like how I felt at the same age, there was always something slightly odd about Mozart, something you couldn't quite put your finger on. Once, while he was playing in front of the entire imperial court, he was distracted by a white cat. A small thing perhaps, but it raised eyebrows and led to a lifelong fascination with cats. The oddness got worse over the next few years. Mozart was a child celebrity, much in demand for his musical skills all over the grand houses of Europe. Taxing enough for anyone, but even worse for Mozart. It's pretty uncomfortable. Very noisy in here. And Mozart often spent days travelling like this. In fact, he probably spent more time on the road than he did in any of his homes. It's estimated he spent 3,000 days, that's almost 8 years, in a carriage. Can you imagine? The relentless travelling took its toll on Mozart. He contracted colds, flu, and throat infections.
Vienna, October 1762. Wolfgang had already caught a cold in Linz. Our irregular life, early rising, Paris, February 1764. My dear Wolfgang suddenly got a sore throat and a cold, so that he developed such an inflammation that he was in danger of choking. The Hague, December 1765. Little Wolfgang contracted an illness which in 4 weeks has made him so wretched. For the last 5 days he has been carried daily from his bed to a chair. You would like to know what was wrong with him? God knows. I'm tired of describing illnesses to you.
Scientists have established that Tourette's syndrome can be triggered in those with a predisposition by constant childhood infections known as PANDAS.
PANDAS is a theory about what causes Tourette's, or what causes some people who have Tourette's syndrome, and it stands for Paediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorders Associated with Streptococcal Infection. Now, a streptococcal infection typically is a strep throat, i.e. a sore throat, caused by a streptococcal bacteria.
Streptococcus attacks little baby. Antibodies protect her, but maybe they think brain is the bug they should slay. Whee! Out goes baby and bathwater too. Indiscriminate autodefense. Baby ends up with talent like you.
And the PANDAS theory is that somebody would catch this infection and the body would mount an immune response to that infection with antibodies, but that the antibodies would get the target mixed up, if you like, and they would recognise a bit of the brain as being the infection and attack a bit of the brain.